The call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day to those who celebrate. Welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. Today's episode of the show is presented by Roback Apparel. Go to roback.com and use code HOGSBY20 for 20% off your first purchase. Today, it's Arafan Diane Day here on the show. Of course, that's the number one big man in the 2026 class who is scheduled to visit Arkansas August 29th, August 30th, right around that first football game against Alabama A&M. We're going to take a look at some tape, break down his game, strengths, weaknesses, projectables, Mr. Arafan. We're going to look ahead at next season's roster, some of the options there and how he fits with Arkansas, both as it pertains to the front court that we project out for next year, as well as how he would fit in John Calipari's system. We're going to wrap by sizing up the competition, similar to how we did last week for Jordan Smith Jr. and Tay Kenny, if you guys can remember that. All right, let's start with some quick hits on our man Arafan, and then we'll throw up some film here in a few minutes. So, first of all, this is a guy who speaks 6 languages, by the way, which is incredible. And I figured he spoke multiple languages because he's originally from Guinea in West Africa. He was in Canada. Now he's in Iowa, but 6 that's a serious number. I memean, that's some really impressive stuff, if you ask me. How about the measurables? Well, 7 foot, 270 pounds, a 9 foot 4-inch standing reach, which means he can almost just stand flat footed and touch the rim. I mean, he's halfway up the net, which is impressive. 7'2" wingspan. That's a hoss, man. That's a big boy right there. I saw a clip yesterday of him standing next to Andre Drummond at the NBPA Top 100 camp. They were basically the exact same size. And Andre Drummond just, got out of the league. Most recently, he was listed at 6'11", 280. So that pretty much tracks in terms of his size. And there's really no denying it with him. Some guys, if they're from overseas or whatever, especially, but they'll gas up the heights, weights. You just don't have to do that with a guy like Arafan. He's just huge, right? Now, rankings-wise for him, here's what I would say is really surprising to me. And it's probably getting ready to change here pretty soon. But Arafan's the number 1 center in his class in 2026, and that's a consensus with all the recruiting services. Everybody views him in that manner, but nobody has him as a 5-star right now. Am I the only one that finds that kind of weird? You're the number 1 player at a premium position in your class, not a 5-star. That's almost unheard of for the top big man in a class. And part of it goes to show you, I think, how light the center market is in 2026. We've talked about it a lot here on the show, just kind of projecting out what Arkansas might need, who they might target. There's just not, it's a big man light type of year. Absurdly thin, to be honest. But I think the other part of it here, in fairness and to be transparent, is that all of these recruiting services are in the process of revamping their rankings following, the summer circuits, grassroots seasons ending. They're going to update within the next couple of weeks here. And when they do, he's going to get a bump. Okay. 24/7 Sports has him the highest at 15th in his class. And I would imagine he's going to get his 5th star from those guys. Rivals has him at, I think, number 22. He'll probably go up. ESPN has him at number 34. I think he'll absolutely go up there. I don't know if he's going to be the consensus 5-star type of guy. It'll depend. But I think he's going to have at least one service that gives him that, and he'll probably bump up to a composite 5-star and a top 20 guy, no doubt. So, he was just awesome all summer. He deserves it. One of the top 2 to 3 players, I would say, on the Adidas circuit throughout the course of the spring and summer. He was tremendous. Unreal. Now, okay, so I have 2 clips that we're going to play here. And I'm going to start with a clip from the MBPA Top 100 camp. By the way, shout out to Synergy for this, College Hoops Tapes. They do a really good job. I'm going to let this first one kind of play. Then you guys can watch it, and I'll give a little bit of commentary just on his game and what you need to know about him. And then we'll pull up a separate clip from the summer and be a little bit more specific as we kind of break things down here. So let me pull that up, and then I'll keep yapping. And there we go. Okay. Like when you see a guy with this type of size, the first thing you wonder about is like, is he in shape? How does he move laterally? Does he run the floor? How's the motor, right? And I think when I look at Arafan, it's fair to say he could lose 10 to 15 pounds, lean up in the weight room. I think he would benefit from that. Maybe he should start that process in his senior season here. His conditioning, though, is not poor for his size, but it does need to improve, I think, for him to sustain like high-level play for real starter-level minutes, impact-type minutes in the SEC or a high major conference. Now, here's the thing, though. He is a fierce competitor, and the motor is very, very clearly there when you watch him, which means he plays hard as hell when he's out there. And most of this clip that we've been playing right here was him getting up and down, running the floor and scoring in transition, right? Now, his lateral movement needs some work. Like his pick and roll defense is going to take some time to get right, but around the, around the rim, his protection there, his presence, it's already very, very strong, in my opinion. So a couple things that really stand out to me about him. He's a talker. Oh, he's a talker. He yaps at his opponents. He's always clapping at them, talking a little bit of trash, but he's always picking up his teammates constantly. He's probably running out of breath from talking so much because he's just constantly got something to say. But it isn't nasty. It isn't demonstrative. It just shows off a competitive side, and it seems like he's a really, really good teammate. I think it's productive chirping, healthy chatter, if you will. I love it. I love it. And as big as he is, Arafan he's far from just like a bruiser type, if you will. He's not that. He's just the guy who's just bullying everybody because of his size. He is surprisingly and impressively skilled and fluid. And I think he has a tremendous feel for the game for a guy that, he's been playing. I think he picked up basketball when he was 12 years old. So several years into it now, but it's impressive how advanced he is for his age, and there's room to grow. He looks like Kofi Coburn. If you remember him from Illinois, he talks like Joel Embiid, and he makes plays like Nikola Jokic. And no, I'm not comparing them all literally here, but when you see how comfortable he is with the rock, the way he can shoot it, how he passes out of the post, you'll kind of understand what I'm saying there with some of the things that he does. He's skilled, man, very, very skilled. His ceiling is extremely high, really soft touch. He's automatic over his left shoulder. Now he needs to work on his post counters and being able to finish with his left, and he can, but he certainly prefers to get to that right hand. Great reads out of post double teams, finds his shooters, hits cutters, doesn't panic with it when he's got an extra defender who helps down, digs down on him. He can face up and hit the mid range. He can knock down the feet set three from above the break. Really an impressive player. So let's pull up one more clip here, and we'll highlight some of the things that we're talking about, and then we'll get into the fit and where things stand here for Arkansas. So let me pull this up and let's chat about it. Okay, there's a post up, and then that's, by the way, that's easy money. That's easy work right there. He's really good at understanding positioning, sealing, doing his work early, and just getting into an entry pass. It's just a drop step and a finish. And that's where that size and strength and power really comes into play for him. Again, this is a guy that's too small for him, but he's patient in there. You see how he doesn't rush anything, gets comfortable, gets to the middle, over the left shoulder, nice finish. Another one here, right hand, looks good. And then is this the one? Okay, no, that was a right hand finish as well. He shows a left hand finish at some point here. There's a little pull up right off the catch. I mean, listen, he probably could have gotten all the way to the rim on that, but catch right there at the free throw line and pull up and knock down the jumper. Pretty smooth there for a guy that's 7'1", 280 pounds, if you ask me. Good positioning there. Again, just showing some patience, finding a spot, working open space, gets his man off his feet. And did you see how he just absorbed that he got the guy off his feet, absorbed the contact and powered through him like he wasn't even there and dunked it. That's a grown man down there in the paint. There ain't no doubt about it. Yeah, I would not have challenged him on that basket cut either. Here's some more of him just kind of running the floor a little bit in transition, alley-oop dunk in transition. So that shows, athleticism, rim running. And yeah, could he do that for 40 minutes of hell type of a style of basketball? No, probably not. But sprinting the floor as a rim runner and catching a lob like that shows his motor, his athleticism, competitiveness, all those things is good to see. Nope, this wasn't it. So left-handed finish that I want to give him credit for. Yeah, offensive rebounding, duh. It's going to be awesome. He's just moving bodies in there. Too powerful, too strong. Is able to gather misses and put them back. None of this comes as a surprise with a guy of this size. It should be one of his better traits, and he can also put back his own misses. Me bounds, as they call it for Angel Reese, right? So at any rate here, let's see. Just normal finish. Okay, now this is a really big part of his game is his passing ability. And he can do it from the top of the key, and you can kind of run some stuff through him, initiate some offense through him. Also, again, like we talked about, post him up on the block. You don't see too many guys who are back to the basket bigs anymore, but he's really good at feeling well where help is coming from, where the double is coming from. And so, if you got two on you, somebody's open. And so whether that's kicking out to shooters, finding cutters, whatever, he's just very patient, doesn't panic, doesn't over dribble, doesn't overdo it. And he always finds the open man. Really, really impressed by, again, his feel for the game and his ability to pass it. There he is. A couple bodies on him. Boom. Just kick out. Nice casual to an open shooter. Post entry. Boom. Now, he could have easily tried to score that, but looks right over the top. He's got the vision. He sees his man back door, hits him. Good find there for the shooter. Here he is. This is one of those catches. Look at him. Now he's getting in position, looking over that shoulder, surveying the defense. All right, where's help going to come from? Where are they going to double me from? Nope, it didn't come. Okay, so we've got our action. I know where my shooter's going to be. Flip it right out there to him. 3-ball. Love it. And then you see how he's just pointing out his his bench there. I did that. I made that pass. Finds the cutter for the layup. Really good work. Love the way he paid. Now, he probably should have just dunked that, but it kind of shows you that he's unselfish. Like, if I was a big man and I'm getting a touch there on the block and I've got positioning, I'm going up and hammering that. But he knows he's got a knockdown shooter right there in the corner. So an unselfish play, kicks it out, and, rewarded with the assist. You got to love it. Spot up jumper right here. Look at him. Faces the guy up. 3-ball. That's tough. Now we'll see what comes of his jumper. Now he's got kind of the over the head long type of release, but he knocks that thing down. I'd have to go see exactly what his volume and everything like that is, but he's comfortable with it. Mid range out to 3, he can hit that shot. Blocks there again, moving in space. Switching off, drop cut, all things, pick and roll, ball screen defense. That's where he's really going to have to take some strides. But if you can have him hanging out around the rim, just protecting the rim and the paint, he can be really impactful there. And good luck finishing on this dude when you're driving, as you can see, literally right here, meet you above the rim. Sorry, pal. And then now, he kind of looks like he's jogging a little bit back in transition, but he notices his man gets out in front of him. He doesn't give up on the play. That's that competitiveness of him, and winds up sprinting and getting the chase down here. Nope, no, sir. Thank you. I'll take that. So there you go. Okay. I'll tell you what, I'm really impressed with Arafan as a player. I am. If you can't tell, I think he's got a ton of upside. And the thing about him is I think he's just scratching the surface. Like, his ceiling is extremely, extremely high. And I think his floor is too, because I mean, when you have a guy who is already that size, it's going to translate right away, right? The strength, the power, the physicality of the SEL. He's not going to be overwhelmed by that. But when you can do multiple things, you're not just a one-trick pony who uses your size to score around the rim, but you can put it on the floor a little bit. You can spread it out, knock down some jumpers, the way you can pass and initiate some offense through him. I really think this is the kind of guy who can come in and be an asset, big time asset to a college program right away. So want to give him a little bit of love there on the film breakdown, and we'll talk about the fit and everything as it pertains to Arkansas. But first, got to tell you about our sponsors for the day here at the Pot at the Palace. It's Looper Auction and Realty. Why wait months or even years to sell your home the traditional way? At Looper Auction Realty, they offer a faster, smarter option. Sell your home at an auction. No repairs, no contingencies, no drawn out negotiations. You set the terms, buyers compete, and then you walk away with a firm closing date. Whether it's your home, an estate, or an investment property, the auction method puts you in control and gets it sold fast. Call Looper Auction and Realty at 479-996-4848 or visit looperauction.com. It's Looper Auction and Realty, sold in 30, closed in 30. Okay. So let's talk about the potential fit here between Arafan Diane and the Razorbacks. And I'm going with Diane now, but I feel good about Arafan. Okay. Diane is what I've heard some people address him as in interviews with him. So that tells me that they probably were able to ask him, like, hey, how exactly do we say this? And he told them. So that's what we're going to roll with, right? At any rate, looking ahead for Arkansas, they have 2 players on this upcoming year's roster who are 100% for sure out of here after this season because they're both running out of eligibility. And it's 2 front court pieces, Trevin Brazile and Nick Pringle. Now, Arkansas will hope to retain Malik Ewan. He might ball out and go to the league. Who knows? But you would hope to have him back. He can come back. He's got another year. They plan on Paulo Semedo being, a big contributor, especially in year 2. We'll see on Elmer Zaffich and how he develops and acclimates to the SEC and everything like that. But there's no doubt that Arkansas is going to be going out and making at least 2 additions up front. There's no doubt in my mind that that's going to be the case. My thought is you go out and get yourself a starting level 4-man from the portal, or at least, one who's experienced, proven, who can complement Paulo. But I think you go get a portal 4-man. At least that's what I do. Then it all depends on Malik Ewan, but either way, Arafan Diane makes a lot of sense to plug into the mix here, I think. Like he either comes in and pairs with Ewan and he takes Pringle's role as a guy who's far less experienced, but I think has a significantly higher ceiling as a basketball player, or Malik Ewan is gone and maybe a guy like Arafan has a bigger role right away, but you bring in another older big man to complement him, right? It's not going to be a one-man show in there. That's not what they're going to do. Now the fit, again, I think that it makes some sense here for Arkansas. John Calipari, he's got a long proven history of bringing in high level freshman bigs and letting them work. Is his hit rate 100%? Like, did it work out with Aaron Bradshaw? No, it didn't. Ugonna Kingsley wound up not being everything they thought he was going to be. Okay. When you've been doing this for so long, you're not going to have a 100% hit rate, but I tell you what, and I get it, like different times, different eras, whatever you want to say to discount the man. But something tells me that Anthony Davis, Karl Anthony Towns, Boogie Cousins, Bam Adebayo, Nerlens Noel, Julius Randle, Oscar Tshiebwe. It's just a pretty good list of guys to point to that have operated in the front court under John Calipari and are doing pretty darn good for themselves. Right? That's a pretty good selling point, pretty good pitch. In fact, wouldn't surprise me if some of those guys have been hitting Arafan up already and saying, hey, this is what Cal did for me. I'm part of the $6 billion club, my man. Do you want to be? So I'd be saying to him. Anyway, the other thing about this is Arkansas is also about to have a season where a lot of the times out there on the floor, they're going to be playing through their center in Malik Ewan. You think that carries appeal? I do. I do for sure with the way he plays. They're probably telling him right now, on top of the, look at all these other big men that we've, been under our tutelage and we've sent to the league and blah, blah, blah. How about watch us play this year, man? Watch Malik Ewan. He does a lot of the things that you do. And we're going to play through him. This is how it would look for you. I think it'd be pretty appealing to him. I do. Arkansas literally just landed an African-born player, also, by the way, in Paulo Semedo, who Arafan has played against in the past. Think that matters? Might not be a deciding factor, but I bet it helps. It's notable. It's another notch in the belt there. And anyone with any knowledge of college basketball at all knows that Arkansas assistant Kenny Payne is one of the top big man coaches in the country. Kenny Payne, who was front and center for several of Arafan's games over the final weekend of the live evaluation period a couple weeks ago. So, there you have it. Now, the competition here, and I'll pull up this graphic so people can kind of take a look as we provide a little bit of extra commentary. it's a little less clear than some other guys, I think, outside of the top pecking order. So I have Arkansas listed as hot with Arafan, meaning he is a priority for John Calipari, and the interest is serious on the other side. They've been all over him. Arafan's picking up what Arkansas is putting down. He's scheduled for a visit. This is all trending in a great direction. Now, the only issue with that, if I'm just being transparent here, I want to be a homer, but I don't want to lie to you, is that Arkansas might be hot, but Kelvin Sampson and the Cougars might be white hot, like on fire. And that's what I think we really need to keep an eye on here if you're an Arkansas fan. He is going to visit Houston here within the next few days, so you are going to need to keep an eye on that one. He's visiting SMU this week as well. I am less concerned there for obvious reasons. But yeah, as far as the greatest threat to Arkansas, Houston. If I had to pick a leader right now, I would love to say Arkansas, but man, there's a lot of Houston buzz out there in recent days. They're still in the thick of it though. I think it was Sleepers Media that said that Arafan's AAU coach with Iowa United is Mark Pope's brother-in-law or something like that. So that's kind of interesting. Obviously when you see something like that, raises the eyebrow a little bit. Kansas with Bill Self. And I realize I'm looking here, I didn't put them on the graphic. I intended to, but Kansas would certainly be one to monitor, I think, at least. The reason I say, they've offered him Bill Self's big man track record. It would make a lot of sense there. UConn, I think, is one that has really been prioritizing him of late. That's probably one of the 3 to 5 guys that they've really zeroed in on. And when you think about Danny Hurley, back-to-back national titles here recently, carries a lot of cachet. Terrace Reed's going to be out of there, so they're going to have an open spot. And then you think about not only Reed, but Donovan Clingan, Adama Sanogo. They've really had a good run on bigs there recently. So, if a visit gets scheduled with UConn, that would be one I think that we would have to worry about to monitor. I've heard Oregon, Virginia as schools to watch. Of course, Oregon just got another talented African big man in Eji Demir. I don't know how long he's going to wind up being there, maybe just this year, but notable. Illinois, I know Brad Underwood was out there watching him a lot. Darian DeVries at Indiana. They've really made him a priority. A lot of people have. Purdue has offered him, and listen, we know about them and big men, just abnormally large human beings, and Purdue. It's pretty, it's like one and the same. So there are a couple other dominoes to watch here that could impact where things turn with Arafan. And what I mean by that is other players. So keep an eye on 2027 big man Sion Kita, potentially reclassing to 2026. We just talked about some of the contenders and teams to watch with Arafan here. Well, Sion Kita just scheduled visits to Kansas, Indiana, Kentucky, UConn, and then Duke. So somebody is going to get this kid, and they'll be out of the mix for Arafan, unless, of course, he goes to Duke, who doesn't appear to be overly involved with Arafan, and they're actually the early leader with Sion. So we'll see what winds up going down there. But that is worth noting. Now, also, interestingly enough, especially as it pertains to Kentucky, because they're a school that, I've kind of been anticipating maybe they get a visit here from Arafan. We'll see. But not only is this Sion Kita cat scheduled for a visit to Kentucky, they just offered on Tuesday 4-star big man Josh Irving. Now, that doesn't mean, it doesn't have to be a sign that they're moving on from Arafan or they're out of the running or whatever, but it is an interesting pair of moves and developments, to say the least. Right as he starts scheduling some visits and some of that stuff starts coming out, then Kentucky's got another big man visiting, and then they offer a different one. So, okay. Fair to at least wonder. But when it all boils down to it, Arafan gives off the vibes of someone who I think could pop potentially sooner rather than later. And at the moment, I don't know that I really see SMU factoring into this too heavily just yet. We'll see what comes of the visit. You never know. But until or unless other visits get put on the books, Arkansas and Houston look like the top contenders here. And I don't know if we're on commit watch while he's on his visit to Houston to see the Cougars, but they do have momentum right now. And Rivals actually put in a prediction for him to land at Houston on Tuesday. So when I say they have momentum, well, they do. Now, if you get him in and out of that town, of that trip to Houston uncommitted, and then he makes it a month to his trip to Fayetteville, I think that immediately swings the pendulum towards Arkansas, pending any other trips he schedules between now and then. But I like where they're at. The interest is mutual. I could absolutely see a world where Arafan Diane was a Razorback. Houston worries me though, and they've got the first shot at him. Is it better to be first or last in terms of visits? And we'll see what happens in between, and what other schools really make pushes, who drops a bag. So many different things and factors and variables there. But as of today, I think those are the two contenders, and I'll probably have to give Houston a slight edge. But we'll see what comes out of that visit. So there you have it. That's all we got for you today. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. As always, subscribe to the Inside Arkansas YouTube channel if you haven't done so yet. And if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, make sure that you find us. Pod the Palace is everywhere. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, you name it, we're over there. And we'll be back bright and early tomorrow. We ride at dawn, 6 a.m. The Pod the Palace has been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. You guys have a good day. We'll catch you in the morning.